Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Devontae, and I sacrifice my time so you don't have to. Just in case anyone is new to the channel, timestamps are down below in the description box. Go ahead and click on it, skip around, do whatever you want to do. Just don't click off the video too early. Or you can, and I'll hate you forever, and I'll sneak into your house, and I'll kill your puppy. You don't want me to kill your puppy. Just stay on the video. Click on the timestamps. Don't be a little bitch, alright? But with that being said, for the next couple of minutes, really quick, I want to touch on this topic from Booker T. So he was reflecting off of this, and I was very curious as to what he said. I didn't read it until now, as in right now, with you pissants. So, check this out. This is Booker T reflecting off of whether or not WWE is actually the culprit in regards to AEW losing its viewership. Check it out, and I quote, "I don't think it has anything to do with WWE. I really don't think it has anything to do with WWE while they're not clicking on all cylinders. I think their last show they did like 600,000 and some odd K number, but that right there is not a big number at all for that show." Exactly, it's a flagship show, but continuing on. That show was doing bigger numbers and the numbers are falling off, just to let you know that the fans even feel like they're doing something to keep them motivated, to keep their attention, to keep them on that AEW ride, to keep that number up on a weekly basis. So it's something that they got to change, and I feel like the show needs to be reformulated. You need more help. By the way, that was what he said, there, but prior to that he was saying, "I say it once, I can say it 1,000 times, but it's about creating stars. I think it's about creating a show. I think that's why NXT is so good right now, because it's really a damn good show. The guys play their roles, and they play their roles very, very well. You got so many guys in AEW that can play their role, no doubt about it, but without that story, without that feel, it feels like you're missing something. I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion." And I've been saying it for the longest, and it's fucked up because you get so many AEW fans who come at you and they want to ignore everything that's currently going on. And like I said, they look at the minuscule numbers or the minuscule performance from the superstar, and they take that and they use that as an overarching narrative to present something to you as if this has been going on for the longest, or as if this is a large part of what's currently going on within the formula of AEW. I'm not going to say the person's name because I don't want to put him on blast, but the latest AEW dick rider that's been popping in and out of my comments, this dude is completely obsessed with AEW, and he's making so many excuses for them. And he'll call you names, and he'll say things such as you're promoting a narrative that's anti-AEW, when that's far from the truth. It's not promoting an anti-AEW number. One dude actually said I was hate watching the show. It's not hate watching the show. It kills me because it's like, I've praised AEW plenty of times in the past. You look through my catalog, I don't think not one time this year. Actually, I don't think not one time my entire channel. Maybe one pay-per-view, and even then, I don't even think I bashed it that hard. Like, almost every AEW pay-per-view, and actually traditionally, I've praised the shit out of. I've praised all their pay-per-view shows, right? And there are certain superstars who I do get behind in the program. Just because our opinions don't line up doesn't mean that it means that I hate the show as a whole. I don't hate the show as a whole. There are things about the show that can be better. There are things about the show that they do that does not meet my criteria of a professional wrestling company. And it's nice to hear a guy like Booker T talk about it, because it's like you get so many veterans who talk about AEW in this light, and yet the fanboys get so offended, and they always come with the ad hominems. It kills me with the ad hominems. It's like they can never engage with the critique. I rarely see. One thing I would give to the guy who says you're anti-AEW and all this other kind of stuff, I will give him credit because at least he tries to make a point. The point in itself is nonsensical because it doesn't really corroborate with reality, but at least he's attempting to make multiple points, right? At least he has a staunch view of AEW. Sometimes you just happen to be a fan of the product and okay, you're just gonna like it no matter what they do. There's nothing wrong with that. But then there are other times when you have people who have to throw out the ad hominems like, you are hate watching AEW. It's like you can't even helpfully engage with the critique. Like, I actually have a legitimate problem with the company. And you coming onto my channel, by the way, hypocritically, the amount of people who kept telling me throughout the week, if you don't like it, don't watch it. While you're actively on my channel watching, like, I don't have any subtitles to tell me what's going to happen on the show. There's no description to let me know. All I have is the match card for the most part, but there is no Nostradamus happening in this brain to tell you the actual programming of the show. And not to mention, newsflash, fuckheads, you're on a wrestling channel. Of course, you're going to get wrestling reviews. It's a part of the channel. There's no excuse for you to click on my channel. You click on my titles, you read it, you see my thumbnails, and then you click on it, and then you contribute to my views that you claim is hate watching. Make it make sense. You're the reason why I have the hate watching going on at the moment. But I just had to read that excerpt from you because Booker T said it, and it's always nice when you have a legitimate veteran who's actually in the business. And, you know, you guys have the same type of philosophy when looking at the wrestling program. And it's always funny because it's always the people where it's like, bruh, you probably started watching professional wrestling when CM Punk came back, but you're going to sit here and you're going to try to give me advice. You're going to try to tell me on how to watch professional wrestling. But then at the same time, when one minuscule event happens, you want to jump out of your chair and say it's one of the greatest things that ever happened in professional wrestling, even though that was a normal thing not even 15 years ago. Come on, bro. Get the fuck out of here. You guys know what you want. You just want to play stupid and you want to be able to prop whatever you have currently at the moment and put it on a pedestal because the last thing you want to do is have to hear about the greatness of an era that you were never a part of. It's entitlement in the end of the day and it's bullshit. And you're gonna hurt your company more than you help it. Mark my words, man. The downfall of AEW will absolutely be not just Tony Khan, not just the wrestlers and themselves wrestling for the company, but trust me, the fans enabling this, they're going to be the number one problem when it's all said and done because you guys are the ones paying money and you guys are the one who can stop this. We notice the bullshit that's currently going on at the moment. You, on the other hand, notice it just as much as we do, but because of your hatred more for WWE than the actual love for AEW, you're willing to let the shit go on. You're an enabler and their death is going to be on your, the blood will be on your hands. But with that being said, let's get into Bash in Berlin. Alright, that was a solid opener. It's not anything that I would call match of the year caliber. It's not something that I would say that it was maybe even the greatest match of the month so far. It was just a solid, nice open. They got their shit in, told a great story with a hot crowd. That's more than you can ask for in professional wrestling, right? Now, I love matches like this for one instance though, because it gives you an opportunity to dissect it from a kayfabe standpoint. There's nothing about this from a shoot standpoint that I have anything to say about. Everything in regards from a shoot perspective, I said already. Hot crowd, solid match, nothing that was brutally fantastic, just paint by the numbers, get the fuck in, get the fuck out. Solid match, above average SmackDown main event match, right? That's what I got out of this. If I had to give this a score, I'd probably go 3.5 stars. It was just a solid match. From a kayfabe standpoint, though, can we talk about the character of Kevin Owens? Like, and the way they were trying to paint this out, like, I get what they were trying to say, but the Kevin Owens character is got to be, at least in that instance, one of the dumbest motherfuckers I think I've ever seen. What the fuck were they even look, like I said, I get the story that they're trying to tell. It's just the story that they're trying to tell as far as what Kevin Owens is portraying himself as is a complete fucking moron. So let me see if I understand this. Let me see it. So first off, the match in itself, you know, like I said, hot crowd. They were chanting for both guys. Both guys were super over, right, with the audience. You know, it started off with them working each other over. You got some spots like the early disaster kick dodge from Kevin Owens. You know, you got some stuff like outside of the ring, fighting and shit like that. Get back in the ring. You know, like I said, paint by number stuff. Kevin Owens, never do a suplex on Kevin Owens. Which, by the way, can someone tell me in the 2K24 video game? Because, how some wrestlers in the older games, and maybe even these newer games, they have their own specific kind of reversals. If you do a clothesline to, say, Ivar, he'll hit a cartwheel out of the way to evade it. Or, if you do, a clothesline in the corner to Ricochet, he'll, rebound you off the ropes and then do, the Rolling Thunder into the front drop kick. Is there, an automatic reversal for Kevin Owens if you try to hit a superplex on him and then he automatically does the fisherman suplex? Does he do that? I don't know. I haven't played the game yet, but nevertheless though, like I said, they're working each other over, right? And it gets to a point because the story that they're trying to tell is Kevin Owens was calling Cody Rhodes' bluff as far as his leg injury over the European tour, right? These past couple of weeks. And Cody was like, I'm not hurt. But of course he's going to say that because he doesn't want him targeting the leg. And, they had the announcers talk, and Michael was like, I talked to other superstars and trainers in the back, and no one indicated to me that Cody had a leg injury. But that could just be them keeping their mouth shut and keeping their nose out of Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes' business, right? But Kevin is like, no, I know for a fact you have a leg injury. And throughout the match, Cody never really showed it until you got towards the end of the match, and he tried to go for a super Cody cutter, and he couldn't put weight on the leg, and then he jumped down off the ropes, and you can hear him go shit, right? Because he feels like he just fucked up his leg. And Kevin notices it, and he could just go for the attack, but he keeps stopping himself. He stops himself because from Kevin Owens' perspective, this is my dog, this is my homie. I ain't that guy that I used to be back in the days where I used to go after people like that. And they're trying to play it up like, oh, Kevin Owens will be a bad guy if he goes over the leg. What the fuck are you talking about? That's like wrestling one-on-one. It's called working over a body part. What do you mean? As opposed to not going after it? What does that mean? What is submission wrestling? I'm not even understand. I get the story that they're telling. Again, this is not talking from a shoot perspective. I mean from a kayfabe standpoint, how big of a dumb fuck Kevin Owens. But what you essentially telling me is, if you see an injury, you don't go after it. You don't work over the body part. If you work over the body part, that makes you a heel? What? No way. That's fucking crazy, bruh. No, that's just called professional wrestling. What the fuck? But they go outside the ring, and Cody, he's pushing Kevin to the side. He's like, I'm good. I don't need your help type of shit, right? And Kevin Owens, he's like, okay, fuck it. And he kicks him in the leg one time. And then he picks him up, and he's going to get ready to do the whole little apron powerbomb stuff. Which, by the way, notice how the announcers are playing it up oh, the apron powerbomb. This has ended careers. But on AEW, they do it as a regular transitional move on some episode of fucking Rampage with the lower card females, if that, right? Fucking insane. But my point being is, he tried to go for it, and then he stopped himself. And Wade Barrett rightfully calls it out. What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? And Kevin's like, he has remorse, and Wade is calling him out bro, killer instinct, go for the kill. And then Kevin hears him, and he gets emotional, and he tells Wade to shut up, calls him an idiot. Then he throws him back in the ring, and they go over for a little bit longer. And mind you, Kevin already kicked out of a crossroads. Cody kicked out of a stunner. And Cody is going to go for the 3 crossroads stuff that he does, right? And by the third one, Kevin, I wish they would have, maybe they'll do this if they were to do a return match, because it seems like, Kevin's going to use this as a catalyst to turn heel if they're smart enough. I was thinking this would be a dope, and maybe they'll probably do this. I was thinking they were going to do a counter, and it would have been cool if Cody's going for the crossroads, and when he goes for the third crossroads, all Kevin has to really do is just sit his head up a little tiny bit out of Cody's grip, and he can transition that into a perfect stunner. I thought he was going to do that right there, but he didn't do it. Nevertheless, though, he instead pushed Cody off, and he went for a regular stunner, and he got a 2 count from it. He and Cody went back for a little bit longer until he tried to go for a swanton bomb, and then Cody puts his knees up, and then Kevin lands back first on his knees. Cody picks him up and just crossroads. 1, 2, 3. Straightforward finish. Like I said, this match right here, this was the perfect, if they're going to turn, Kevin heel and run this back probably at Bad Blood, this is the perfect type of first match that you want to have in, say, a trilogy, or if they want to run it back and just have a back-to-back. This is the perfect match to do it on, right? You have the excuse where Kevin Owens is like, I am a dumb fuck, and for some reason, I don't know, it makes me a bad guy to wrestle? I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know. The Kevin Owens character is retarded. I don't know what to say, bruh. This man is legitimately saying, if I work over your body part, that makes me a bad guy. I don't know where he's coming from. That's just so illogical as fuck. But they can run it back. Kevin can be like, I didn't have the killer instinct in me. I didn't go for the kill when I had the opportunity to. If they were smart, you can do it in a sly way without making Cody look like, a bitch, right? It could be a situation where, like, Kevin wants a rematch because he feels like he wasn't, being 100% himself. He didn't give Cody his best. And it could be a situation where Cody's going to accept it, and then someone else comes and they want to shot at Cody Rhodes. You could probably plug in Carmelo, you can plug in Andrade, any superstar, right? And when him and Cody, or whatever the case may be, as far as the number one contender shot is considered, are about to do their thing, Kevin Owens can, like, come out, beat the fuck out of him. Cody Rhodes can come out there. Hey, what the hell is this? Kevin can stun Cody, beat the hell out of him, and that's a nice way to kind of, run the match back if they want to. They don't have to do it exactly that way, right? But the obvious goal to this, I would think, just looking at patterns of behavior going on for professional wrestling for the past 30 years now, at least from my perspective, is that it looks like Kevin Owens is going to turn heel and they're going to run it back. I mean, personally speaking, one can argue he beat him clean, but like I said, Kevin can always just be like, hey, I didn't give you my 100% best. Cody, wants to give him the title shot, but other guys are in line. Kevin turns heel in the process, beating the fuck out of this guy or beating the fuck out of Cody Rhodes. Run it back at Bad Blood. We get an actual decent. And then here's the thing too. You don't even have to run a gimmick off this. You can legitimately just go back and run another one-on-one match. You don't really have to run a gimmick. There's really no need for a gimmick. The whole story is Kevin Owens is trying to not be the guy that he was a couple of years ago when he was Cutthroat. It's as simple as that. There's no need to actually have to run another gimmick on this. I mean, if you really want to do a gimmick, I say do this match again, right? And I'm not saying it could be a screwy finish, but something where it's not super clean. And if you want to, the third and final match could be a gimmick match. And you could do the gimmick match on an episode of SmackDown. That would probably draw some huge ass ratings too. I don't know, just my thought. But with that being said, we have Alba, Fyre, and Isla getting ready to take on Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. But like I said, solid match. It was a solid opener. I like the story that they were telling. It's not the story that, is a problem at all. It's like, which I guess you want in professional wrestling, right? You want to be mad at the actual character. That's what I am right now. I'm mad at the Kevin Owens character for just being one of the dumbest characters I think I've ever seen in that instance, and just the lack of common sense just befuddled me in regards to the character in itself. Okay, so this match right here, there's multiple things wrong with it. Okay, see, Triple H, he needs to do better with these women, bro. He needs to do better with the women. And I get what he's trying to do. You take some of the more greener women or some of the more unknown women, and then you partner them up with actual superstars in order to help them get over. At least that's what it feels like with this right here. And it's not to say that Alba, Fyre and Isla haven't been a thing for a while now, but it's like, who the fuck are they? And they're tag team champions. And it seems like they only won the tag team championship belts because, well, they were in Scotland, right? So take away all that for a minute, right? Just ignore that for a moment. Okay. You have in that match right now, this is no knock to Isla, this is not a knock to Jade Cargill, but truth be told, people don't really think about it. Obviously, you're very aware of Bianca Belair. Obviously, you know about her caliber of star, right? But Kaylee Ray is really, really, really fucking good. And it does pain me sometimes. And again, I'm not trying to knock Isla, all the things that I disagree with her politically, doesn't matter. This is about professional wrestling. I'm not trying to knock her, and I'm not even trying to knock Jade Cargill, because Jade Cargill has a bunch of potential also. I just wish that you didn't have Jade Cargill and Isla weighing down the potential of Kaylee Ray and obviously what Bianca Belair could be doing right now. This has got to be the worst year in Bianca Belair's career. She's one of the biggest female talents you have from a drawing standpoint in regards to name value and honestly at this point accomplishments. And I hate to see her in this position when, quite frankly, she probably could be prepared right now to be on the underling, preparing herself to eventually go up against a Rhea Ripley or a Nia Jax or Charlotte Flair, who's going to probably come back sooner rather than later. But instead, she's doing this thing with Jade Cargill because they're trying to prepare Jade Cargill. And it's like, I mean, is there nobody else that you can't put with Jade Cargill to make this work? I don't know, man. It's like, I feel like we kind of ran the course with this. We should probably be preparing Bianca Belair to get back into the women's division, you know, fighting for like actual singles gold. And in the case of, you know, Kaylee Ray, it's like her as Alba Fyre is a fucking flop, bruh. And Isla Dawn, she sucks. Isla Dawn fucking sucks, bruh. I'm sorry. Jade Cargill sucks from an in-ring perspective too, but at least she has an excuse, right? She's green as well. Really, I can't even say that because it's not as if she wasn't in AEW. I guess that has more to say about the Nightmare Factory, if anything else, right? But the match in itself, it was sloppy. It was really sloppy. You can tell some of the moves were botched, like the little spot where they try to do the whole little gory special with Alba Fyre taking Bianca Belair out of her tag team move. They obviously botched that, and they had to redo the move over again, which is so obvious, and I hate when wrestlers do that. If you botch the move, just go to the next spot, bruh. Don't redo the fucking move. It looks so fucking amateurish. But it's not just that. Also, they also botched, I could only presume that wasn't supposed to be the finish, but I don't think it was like a Sid Vicious, rest in peace, and Hulk Hogan situation with the Godfather when he was not Kama, when he was Papa Shango. You know, the whole situation where he came too late to break up the count and Sid was kind of forced to kick out of Hulk Hogan's leg drop, when in reality that wasn't supposed to be the case. It's pretty clear that that little fucking move that Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill did, the little wheelbarrow shit, that's supposed to, or was it a wheelbarrow? I forgot the tag team finish that they did beforehand, but obviously if that's not one of their finishers, that's one of their signatures. If it's not either one of those things, clearly, you know, it was supposed to be the case where Kaylee had to kick out of it, right? Obviously, Isla Dawn missed her cue to break up the pinfall off of one of the tag team finishers, and Kaylee had to been forced to kick out. You can see the look on Isla Dawn's face when she's sitting up, like she knows she fucked up. And, you know, stuff like that was happening throughout the match. I will give them credit as far as working a fundamental tag team match. I mean, it felt like Bianca Belair was in there forever to get the hot tag to Jade Cargill. So I will give them credit as far as working at least a somewhat capable structure of a match. It's just the stuff that they were doing. And these girls, it's not just them. It's the girls throughout the entire wrestling industry. This is why I keep saying, no matter what you do, you'll never be better than the men. Just athletically speaking, you never will be better than the men. There are a few women who can go out there and be as athletic as, say, for an example, a Ricochet, a Seth Rollins, you know, a Will Ospreay, all these guys. There's no woman who's ever going to compete with these guys on the athletic level. That's just from a high-flying standpoint, from an agility standpoint. They're not going to compete with them as far as strength is considered. You know, you're not going to compete with Braun Strowman or Bronson Reed or any of these guys. It's just not going to fucking happen. Yet they keep consistently trying to do these complicated goddamn spots, and they always end up botching it. Again, this is not just for this match right here. You know, it happens in TNA, or not TNA, excuse me. It happens in AEW. We've seen the Mercedes match with Britt Baker. That's a perfect example, obviously. You know, it happens all the time. These women, they keep trying to do complicated shit when it's like, I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to stand out because it's not as if Triple H is helping you out with the booking. But goddamn, bro, they always end up botching shit. Every fucking match. It is rare to see any women's match in professional wrestling today where they don't botch. It always, if anything, you know what? Funny enough, you don't see it that much in NXT, honestly. But as far as the main roster women on both AEW and WWE, it's like a continuous problem. They always botch at least one thing in the match. In fact, the only superstar that I don't really see botch all too much from a main roster. No, she botches too sometimes. Rhea Ripley, I was going to say. Well, not so much Rhea Ripley, but, you know, typically the opponent in the match in itself is usually botching with her. Bruh. And like I said, I'm not going to say the lack of story for this match. It's the lack of caring for this match as far as the names that were in the match. And, you know, Bianca and Jade Cargill, they got the predictable win. Like I said, you know, Alba Fyre and Isla Dawn only got the win because they were in Scotland. So it is what it is. And honestly, me talking about this match as long as I'm talking about it, it feels like I'm more invested. I'm more involved with wanting to help these women out than it feels like Triple H is. You need to get some real tag teams in this, bruh. Legitimate tag. I know Isla Dawn and Alba Fyre is a legitimate tag team, but legitimate good tag teams. And legitimate good tag teams with legitimate storylines taking place within these women's, bruh. Not just the women's division, but just the women in general. It feels like the only woman that has a legitimate story all the time is a Rhea Ripley. But yeah, this match, nah, this wasn't good. I didn't like it at all. It was boring. They botched way too much. The lack of story, the lack of character, and honestly, my disappointment in seeing someone like an Alba Fyre, a Kaylee Ray in this position, and obviously just bruh, just bringing Bianca down just to help Jade Cargill is so ass backwards in my opinion. Alright, so obviously this match was a hell of a lot better than the SummerSlam match, which, by the way, I personally love the SummerSlam match. I know some of the biggest critiques about the SummerSlam match with Drew and Punk was that, considering the kind of blood feud that they were having, because remember, the feud for Punk and McIntyre goes all the way back to the Royal Rumble, you know what I mean? And people were saying, like, you guys been feuding for like 8 months now, and it's like the aggression just wasn't there. I mean, for me, it was all about the storytelling, right? But I know and I understand people's criticisms. I don't think you can make the same type of critique, if you will, about a match like this with McIntyre and Punk. I thought the aggression was there from the jump when McIntyre hit Punk from behind when he was coming out to the ring. Which, by the way, I love this arena. More in particular, McIntyre's and CM Punk's entrance. It wasn't anything special. It's just that shot of them coming out of that long, it almost, you know, the tunnel kind of looked like a little bit, the tunnel looked a little bit like, you remember those old WWE shows back in the 90s where like picture Survivor Series, right? Or picture WrestleMania 13 and you have like the little tunnel, like remember Austin's glass breaking? It's like that, but it's like inside it was like a small tunnel when you come out of it. Kind of like TNA Impact's old tunnel. I don't know if they have it right now, but the old little tunnel entrance, I like it. And it was like really, really long. And then you come out of the tunnel and then you come directly into the arena and then you're walking down the corridor area, the rampway. I liked it. I liked it a lot. Their entrance, it was no jokes. There was no haha. There was no giggles. They both had their game faces on. And when Punk was coming into the ring, as I said before him, McIntyre ended up hitting him from behind. That's how the match started, right? These guys were going at it for a minute. McIntyre had control of the match for like maybe the first 2 or 3 minutes of the match. Eventually, Punk did get the offense, and he was trying to pull a table out, but then McIntyre stopped him with a steel chair. Well, he stopped him, pushed the table back underneath the apron, and then he pulled out a steel chair and attacked CM Punk with it, right? They're both going at it. I mean, it gets to a point when McIntyre, he starts headbutting Punk, and Punk gets a little bit of color. Not anything super dramatic, but enough where it's noticeable. It's a cut like above his like left eye, and you know he split open. It looks like he got split open hard way too. That wasn't a blade job. Like he got split open for real. Like I said, you can tell when it's real and when it's like an actual blade job, right? And like I said, these guys were going back and forth for a little bit. They kept whipping each other with the belt. The storytelling in the match was off the charts. They weren't even so much concerned with hitting the turnbuckles, because that's one thing that I was afraid of with the match. And I still think to a certain degree it was kind of there, and it did bother me a little bit. If I had one critique about the match in itself, I kind of feel like the stipulation, considering the feud that they had, didn't match the intensity. You know what I mean? I think with the kind of match that they were supposed to have, and obviously Hell in a Cell coming next month is going to be the culmination of that, right? McIntyre's won, Punk is won. We'll get to the finish in a minute. But I feel like with the kind of feud that they had, a strap match, and I felt the same way about Eddie and JBL when I was a kid too. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to have a dog collar match like, you know, like MJF and CM Punk had, right? But a strap match, it just feels a little bit too gimmicky for the seriousness of the feud. And like I said, I felt the same way about Eddie and JBL at the time also. You know, my critique with Eddie and JBL was like, I mean, fuck, JBL made your mom had a heart attack. You know, Eddie Guerrero's mom, that is, right? In kayfabe. You know, he's picking on your people by kicking them out of the country. He busted you open in such a traumatic way to the point where, I mean, one may argue that it kind of contributed to his death, right? My point being is, though, I didn't like the strap match stipulation when it was Eddie and JBL when I was a kid, and I didn't like the strap match stipulation there. It worked. They made it work, but I don't like it when it's this aggressive of a feud. They should have had something like a last man standing match. That way, because I know the whole thing is you don't want Drew to be pinned by CM Punk. I think that's the whole point of the booking. So, you know, maybe a last man standing match would have been a little bit more appropriate. That's just my opinion. Maybe I want to say an I quit match, because the last thing you need is because I mean, McIntyre saying I quit is about as bad as, like, you know, him, I guess, you know, tapping out or getting pinned, right? Plus, you just had that match with Cody and AJ a couple of months ago. But nevertheless, though, going back to the match, the guys are going back and forth. You know, you got Claymore kicks, you got a GTS early on. Actually, that was one of Punk's first moves, was a GTS to break up the momentum that McIntyre had over him, right? Nevertheless, though, the guys are going back and forth. McIntyre takes him out to the announcement table. It looked like he was going to go for a future shock, but then Punk countered that into a backdrop on top of the announcement table. Obviously, the table didn't break because it's WWE, right? They fight for a little bit longer, get into the ring. Now we start to get more into the stipulation with them trying to tap the turnbuckles, because at this point, both guys are exhausted. And you can tell, at least the story of the match was, both guys can't really take the punishment that each guy is dealing out to them. So now they're starting to get into the stipulation with tapping the turnbuckles and going to each corner. I mean, the people who are controlling the turnbuckle lights are kind of retarded, though. It took Michael Cole a few times to remind the dumb fucks who are controlling the lights, because obviously them touching the turnbuckle isn't what's controlling the lights. Obviously someone is in production, they're watching McIntyre touch the turnbuckle, McIntyre and Punk that is, touch the turnbuckle, and they're the ones hitting the lights. And I guess Cole is trying to make it, known, like, hey, dumb fucks, stop, because the whole point of a strap match is like you tap the turnbuckle, but if someone stops their momentum with a punch or anything like that, as far as an offensive move, then the lights have to start back over again. And a few times the people in the production, they weren't really with it, you know what I mean? Like McIntyre would have his momentum stop, and for some reason his light would still be lit up. It was really stupid. Like I said, the gimmick in itself, I like how they made it work, but I didn't like the stipulation as a whole, though. Nevertheless, though, we get to a point in the match where Drew McIntyre puts the bracelet on his hand. He takes it out of his underwear, more insult to injury, right? And he starts to tag CM Punk over and over and over again, right? It gets to a point where McIntyre takes CM Punk, he dumps him over the ropes. Actually, I think this was before the bracelet spot when he picked him up and then he dumped him over the ropes, and then Punk went through the table on the outside that he set up early on. Right? But the thing is, McIntyre, because the belt is so short and McIntyre and Punk is on the outside of the ring through the table while he's in the inside of the ring, he has to bring him back inside the ring, right? Which obviously Punk ended up stopping him. There was a chair in the corner. McIntyre was trying to, do his thing with CM Punk. Punk got out of the ring to stop the momentum for McIntyre tapping on the turnbuckle, and then he pulled him into the corner where McIntyre set up a chair and McIntyre hit his head on it, right? Like I said, we go towards the finish, and McIntyre and Punk, they're going back and forth at it. It gets to a point when Punk locks in a sharpshooter for a long time. McIntyre's tapping out. The crowd is saying, you tapped out, you tapped out. He's grabbing at anything possible to get Punk off of him. Eventually, McIntyre kind of passes out in the sharpshooter spot, which gives Punk time to tap the turnbuckles before McIntyre stopped him, hits him with a net breaker, then he springs up with a fucking head spring, which is stupid because he just passed out in a sharpshooter, way to kind of kill that move, but whatever, I digress. That's one of my only nitpicks in regards to the selling of the match. But nevertheless, though, both guys go back at it for a little bit longer. McIntyre attempts a Claymore kick, but at the same time, while he's going for the Claymore kick, Punk hits him with a roundhouse kick or a big boot. I really couldn't tell what he hit him with, and then they both get laid out again. Eventually they get back up, right? And they're going back and forth, and eventually Punk hits him with a GTS, and when he hits him with a GTS, he hits one turnbuckle, and then McIntyre, he's semi-conscious, he's trying to stop Punk for tapping the next turnbuckle, so Punk picks him up again and hits him with another GTS. Remember, McIntyre has to stop Punk's momentum. Punk can keep going on with his momentum and his light can still be lit up, right? Remember that. So Punk hits him with another GTS, taps the second turnbuckle. McIntyre at this point is actually out cold, but because Punk is Punk, he hits him with another GTS, because it's that kind of feud. Hits the next turnbuckle, he goes to the last turnbuckle, he notices that McIntyre's bracelet is still on his arm. I think he hit him with another GTS also, if I'm not mistaken. Then he takes the bracelet off, puts it on his arm, and then he taps the turnbuckle. Because the whole point behind this was beforehand, when McIntyre put the bracelets on his arm, he was trying to use that arm with the bracelet on to tap all the turnbuckles. But, insult to injury, Punk ended up putting the bracelet on his arm, and then he hit the last turnbuckle to get the win. Like I said, this match was better than the SummerSlam match. Like I said, they showed way more aggression. We got a little bit of color in the match, got some hardcore spots. The guys in themselves, they looked like they were exhausted from beating the shit out of each other. This is probably the best Punk looked in ages, honestly. Honestly, this is probably the best Punk look since maybe his dog collar match with MJF. I'm not even joking. This was a fantastic match. I had a blast watching this. This was fun. Like I said, I kind of feel like the stipulation, they made it work, but I felt like it was holding back from the potential of what they really could have done as far as the aggression is considered. These kind of matches kind of do that, and it's like, it is what it is. Like I said, they made it work, and obviously, because I thought after the match, I thought Drew was going to probably get his heat back and beat the fuck out of Punk and maybe take the bracelet back just to have a continuation going into Hell in a Cell. I mean, obviously, Punk always has, there's always an excuse to have Hell in a Cell. They're both 1-1 right now, but it's just one of those deals where I kind of thought McIntyre was going to pull that, maybe beat the fuck out of Punk, get the bracelet back, yada, yada, yada. Didn't happen. It is what it is. And now we go on to Hell in a Cell. Now, because I'm hearing people saying how they're going to like heat the feud up again, going for it. I think now we're at a point, he got his bracelet back, right? You're going into Hell in a Cell. This has been a blood feud all year. I think now is the point in time where you can kind of bring AJ Lee and Larry for real into the story. I'm just throwing it out there. It's not as if it didn't happen a couple of years ago with Edge and Seth Rollins. They did it in AEW with Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page. I think now we can go down the road of Drew McIntyre paying AJ Lee a visit. That's just my opinion. I mean, I think if you really want to heat this feud up for real, have Drew pay CM Punk's wife a visit. And let's heat it up that way, going into Hell in a Cell. That's how you really get Punk. I mean, Punk's going to accept it regardless, but if you really want to add a dimension to the feud, why go after the bracelet when you can go after, the real people who are on the bracelet? But that's just my opinion. We'll see how this thing goes as we push forward towards Raw. But excellent match, and a quality match on the show so far. That's the only match that I've seen so far that I would consider maybe top 20 best match of the year. This was fucking great. I loved it. Like I said, would have preferred a different stipulation. I feel like they would have got more out of that, out of a different match with more of a hardcore. I guess it's not as if a strap match isn't a hardcore match, but I mean like more of a hardcore match that doesn't limit them to just, the confines of doing what they have to do in order to win the match, but more so to show the aggression of, like, because it's not as if Punk didn't hit the GTS over and over and over again, and, they were ignoring at points in time, tapping the turnbuckle, but it just looked goofy knowing that they're having such an intense feud to know that they look like pussies tapping the turnbuckle to get out of the match. You know what I'm trying to say? But nevertheless, though, we got the mixed tag match coming up right now with Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest taking on Dominik, Mysterio, and Liv Morgan. So let's get to that right about now. But I like the match. I love the match. It was really, really fucking good. So far this part, I'll say the opener too was a damn good match. But as far as like a really, really, really quality match to put over the pay-per-view, I definitely say this. I give this match 4 stars. Easily 4 stars. But on to Hell in a Cell. Let's get to that and let's see what they really are made of. But like I said, with that being said, the mixed tag match is coming up next. Wow, that really had no business being as good as it was. That was a fun match. It was chaotic as fuck. Like, I don't know why I was expecting it just to be a standard mixed tag match. I don't know why I did. With all of the chaos that ensued, would you guys say, I always kind of felt like the standard bearer of the best mixed tag match, like in the history of pro wrestling. Believe it or not, you're going to hear the names and you're like, what the fuck? I'm dead ass serious though. I thought the best the best mixed tag match of all time, in my opinion, was Mark Mero and Luna Vachon was it Mark Mero and Luna Vachon? Yeah, no, it was Goldust and Luna Vachon taking on Mark Mero and Sable at WrestleMania 14. I always thought that was the best mixed tag match of all time. And actually, Beth Phoenix and Edge taking on Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley. That was a really good mixed tag match a couple of years ago also. This match right here might be the best mixed tag match of all time. This was fun. I mean, the majority of the match was taken up by Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, which would make sense. I mean, look at Dominik and look at Damian, look at Rhea, look at Liv. It works out itself when, for an example, the two are going at it and it's like you got someone ringside to watch your back, like Liv going up against Rhea with Dominik right there. But it's a lot different when it's like, okay, they're on an equal playing field, right? But they made it work, though. They made it work. Although I will say, though, I'll save that for the ending when I'm done judging this, right? But like the guys and the girls, they're going at it again. Damian and Rhea just took over the match. Like, they took over like fucking 90% of this fucking match until Dominik eventually, he got the advantage a little bit. He kind of like hit like a shoulder block on Damian Priest on the outside of the ring, and he hit the back of his head on some stairs. But when they get back into the ring, though, like I said, he was kind of having the advantage for the first 2 minutes before it kind of went right back in the Damian and Rhea's favor for a little bit before they took advantage again. And now it was Rhea, Liv getting the heat on Rhea. I will say this, Liv did this fucking move that I've never seen before. What the fuck was that? That was dope as fuck. So, like, Liv Morgan, it's gonna sound weird with me explaining it. That was such a dope-ass fucking video game move. She grabs her, and she puts her, like, in a pump handle position, as if she was gonna go for Riptide, right? She puts her in a pump handle position, and it's hard to explain, but she has her in the pump handle, like, picture this. Liv has Rhea in the pump handle slam position, arms wrapped up, right? She hits a front flip over her while she's still locking arms in the pump handle position, and she drives Rhea on her back, like as if she did a crucifix. It was like a pump handle crucifix driver. I can't even explain this fucking move. It was fucking insane though. It looked really cool. But she didn't get the win off of it, obviously. She should make that her signature at the very least. That was dope as fuck. But eventually, Rhea got the advantage again. You know, they started a tag team, Dominik, Mysterio. Liv tried to help out, but she can only do so much. It gets to a point where Rhea gets her hands on Dominik Mysterio. She starts to ragdoll him everywhere. She never got the opportunity to hit the Riptide, though. People are still waiting for Rhea to hit the Riptide on Dominik Mysterio. But when she actually got her hands on Dominik, that fucking crowd exploded. Holy shit. That was probably one of the loudest reactions of the night. Even louder than the opener. You know, like, because, like, the opener got... the Punk and McIntyre, that's one thing I didn't talk about in the match. It wasn't like they were quiet. They were just, like, quiet in certain spots. That was the loudest pop of the night, was that little shit that was going on with Rhea and Dominik. Eventually, it gets to a point when Damian and Rhea, they ended up hitting dual Razor's Edges before Rhea was getting ready to do something, I think. And then, like, that's when the Judgment Day started to come out. Or maybe, I don't know, Damian or one of them were going to do something. And then the Judgment Day started to come out first. What's his name? JD McDonough came out, got attacked. Carlito came out. Rhea Ripley took care of him. Finn Balor ended up coming out, and then he attacked Damian Priest while everybody wasn't looking. Liv took advantage, and she got Rhea Ripley by jumping off of the stairs. Eventually, Dominik Mysterio he had a suicide dive on Damian Priest when he was going to attack Finn Balor, right? And he puts him in position on top of the announcement table where he stands him up. He goes on the opposite announcement table, and he runs like he's going to do something to Damian Priest. So, like, Damian Priest is standing on one announcement table, and Dominik is on the other announcement table. He runs off of one announcement table onto the other announcement table, and then Damian just clotheslines him. And then Dominik does the whole Rikishi sell when he flips inside out, but he like flips inside out, and he kind of misses the announcement table, so he kind of like took a bump on the outside of the floor, which was fucking crazy in its own right too. But eventually, you have Liv Morgan. She's staring like daggers at Damian Priest, like, what the fuck? And it's like Rhea Ripley's behind her, and like Damian Priest is pointing at Liv, like, look behind you, and then the look on Liv's face was just like, fuck. And then she turned around, Rhea hit her with the headbutt, and then eventually finished her off with Riptide, and then got the win. Then picked her head up and licked her face. Is that like a thing she does now? She's been doing that for a couple of weeks now. Kind of hot, actually. I want to fuck both Liv and Rhea regardless, but I think everybody wants to fuck with Liv and Rhea, so I'm not the only person. But that was a great match. The only thing, like I said, and this is what I wanted to talk about, the only thing about the match that really hurt it for me, again, it wasn't just so much the obvious mismatch. I didn't think about the Judgment Day for some fucking reason interfering, but when they did interfere, man, they just look like geeks, bruh. They need a heater. Just Damian Priest alone. And it's such a shame, because, you know, you got, you know, Finn Balor there. I mean, people forget Finn Balor, you know, that's Prince Devitt. You know, that's the leader of the Bullet Club, you know, or one of the leaders, I guess, whatever. I don't know the Bullet Club history, but I think he's one of the leaders, right? That's Prince Devitt. You would think that he would have a hell of a lot more clout. He's a former WWE champion, Intercontinental champion, multiple-time tag team champion. I don't know. You would think that he himself should be more than capable to at least stand toe-to-toe, at least from a, you know, credential standpoint. But, you know, it is what it is. They need a heater, though, man. They really need a heater to combat Damian Priest, because this right here, this can only go on for so long, bro. They look like fucking geeks going out there trying to take on these two, man. Rhea is significantly bigger than most of the guys, if not all the guys, maybe minus Carlito, who he himself is part of the weakest link of the Judgment Day. And then you have Dominik Mysterio right there, and it's like, I don't know, man. They need a heater. Otherwise, this is kind of pointless, right? They have no chance. I mean, really, stature-wise, all things combined, they really realistically have no chance against Rhea and Damian. They kicked two of the most dominant members of their team out of the fucking group. So that's probably my only thing I would like for them to change up going forward if they're going to continue this feud, because they still want to get that riptide in on Dominik Mysterio to get that ultimate pop. And I would think, if they keep this up, I'm against intergender matches, but I will make an exception for this if, you can pull it off correctly. If you want to do Rhea and Dominik, again, it depends on how you can pull it off, but I think I'd be okay with Rhea and Dominik just given the story. And honestly, if you want to, if you play your cards right, you could probably pull it off at the Royal Rumble. I don't know. Call me crazy, man, because, you still want to probably get Rhea and, somebody in there for the Women's Championship going into WrestleMania, so you might not want to waste that on a WrestleMania, but Rhea and Dominik at the Royal Rumble, I think that's a strong possibility if they play their cards right, or if they want to do it on the main event of Raw to get a really, really big rating. I don't know, just saying, man, but this is a fun match, probably one of the best mixed tag matches of all time. This is really, really fun. This is really, really good. But with that being said, coming up next is the main event. Gunther and Randy Orton. It was really disappointing at the King of the Ring, so, I like the match, but it lacks substance. I know everybody's critique about the match at the King of the Ring, so I am very curious as to how it's going to play out. This can go either way. Either this is going to be one of the more disappointing main event matches in, the entire 2024 year. I still think Cody and Sikoa kind of has, that wrapped up as far as the most disappointing main event of the year so far. Either that or Rhea versus Nia Jax at the Elimination Chamber. But this match right here, it can either be one of the most disappointing matches of the year, in particular the most disappointing main event match, or it could be one of the best matches of the year. Really, there's only two ways you can go about it with these two. But with that being said, let's get into it, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. Randy Orton versus GUNTHER! Yeah, I was afraid this was gonna happen. As a match, in terms of not botching anything, in terms of a straightaway match, I guess you can say it succeeded. Orton put over Gunther, no surprise there. But man, this was rough. Not rough in the sense of like I said, it's not like it was a botch fest or anything like that. It was rough in the sense of this was boring. This was very, very boring. And I kind of had a feeling they were going to go down that path. And honestly, that was one of the reasons why I was kind of scared that they were going to main event. It's damn, that was boring, man. I'm not even gonna lie to you. A few times I was falling asleep during this match. I was falling asleep during this match, and I guess you have to have a certain taste to like a match like this. But I think even people who would enjoy matches like this, like maybe Jim Cornette and people of that ilk, might like a match like this. Even then, I would think Cornette will look at certain spots and criticize them, the announcement table stuff. But this match just didn't do it for me. And this main evented on top of that. Now, this isn't one of those things, like I said, where you're going to hear me go on a long rant, screaming and anything like that. Because it wasn't as if it was offensive. It's not like it was like they were doing stupid shit and anything like that. It's more so the case of just it was boring. It was boring. The best part about this match was just, and even then, I'm not even gonna say that because it's not even just so much that the match was boring. The audience, man, I heard so many people saying that the French audience were bad because they were just putting themselves over, right? They were trying to get themselves over. That's how I felt about the Berlin crowd, bro. They were just trying to get themselves over the entire match. They were doing the wave, random fucking chants, and they did it in the beginning of the match also. I didn't mind it all too much because Cody and Kevin was actually somewhat fun. But, they did it in this match, and it kind of felt like, you know what it felt like to me? You remember the Raw after WrestleMania, what was it, 29 probably? And you had the match with, I want to say maybe Orton versus Big Show. Or maybe, I think it was Orton versus Big Show. And they were doing the beach ball stuff and the wave. That's what it felt like, bro. It felt like that they were just trying to get themselves over. And I guess they had to do something because this match just wasn't it. I really can't even notate you any fun spots. Typically, I can go down a match and I can tell you, oh, they did this was crazy, this was crazy. I guess the craziest thing was Orton doing a backdrop to Gunther off the steel steps right next to the announcement table, and he went through the announcement table. Outside of that, though, man, it was slow pace, way. There's methodical, like Triple H. This is what this match kind of felt like to me. That's what it felt like. It felt like a Triple H match, bro. It felt like Triple H, like in the mid 2000s. It had a very Batista Triple H energy to it. You know what I mean? Very WrestleMania 21 disappointment to it, man. But eventually they got in the ring with Gunther and Randy Orton. There's really nothing to note. I'm telling you, there's nothing to notate. But they just did work holds for the majority of the match. And they got into the ring, and Orton did an RKO to Gunther. Gunther kicked out of it, and eventually, Gunther locked in a sleeper hold, and then Orton would get out of it. He locked him in another sleeper hold again. He got out of it one more time. Gunther put him back in the sleeper hold, and then Orton passed out. I don't know what else to notate about the match. I really don't. And the thing is, it's not so much, I'm never going to sit here because I know people are going to probably be like, oh, Gunther, this is his first title reign. This is a failure already. You know what I mean? It's not so much that it's Gunther's fault. Look, guys, we got to face facts, right? Orton is getting old. He can't do the same stuff that he was doing in the past. His back is probably restricting him for doing more than what he can actually do. And it's not as if Orton was ever really a terribly exciting performer. I mean, when you put him in the ring with the right performer, he can be fucking insane. But like when you put him in there with another methodical wrestler, it can get kind of complacent. You know what I mean? And with this match right here, Gunther, in any other circumstances, he's a little bit more hard-hitting. The people who he's going up against, people of a faster pace, they can keep it up. Gunther always has great counters, so like they'll do some crazy move and Gunther will counter it with another crazy move. Something along the lines of that, you know what I mean? Gunther, he's just an excellent performer in that regards. But when you take someone of the caliber of Randy Orton and then you add in also like his back injury, you get a match like this. There's only so much you can really do. Gunther has a certain style, Randy has a certain style, and they just don't match very well. They just really don't. And hopefully going forward, Gunther can get someone, like I said, of a faster pace, because I really think that was the problem with this match, was just that it was just way too fucking slow throughout the match. Way too slow. It's the complete opposite of AEW. Like, you got each side of the spectrum, where like an AEW match, like a Will Ospreay match, they'll just do way too fucking much, and then like you can't really sit there and resonate with any of the dumb fucking spots that they do. You know what I mean? And it gets way too chaotic, it gets way too hectic. The no selling takes you out of the match is just too stupid. It looks like a video game. That's one side of the spectrum of like way too extreme. And then you have the other side of the spectrum that is way too extreme with a match like this, where it can just be way too plotting. It has like a great Khali pace to it, and it's just really fucking boring. They're not doing anything for real. They're just doing work codes, and then you'll get like one somewhat big spot, which makes it even worse because it's 2024 and we've seen every spot known to mankind, no pun intended. And it's like that makes it just as worse. You know what I mean? Where it's like, well, fuck, dude, like I've seen this spot before, you know what I mean? And you add all that in and again you get a match like this, man. But yeah, this match was definitely no bueno. This was no good for me. Not a good start to Gunther's title reign. Hopefully they don't have to run this back again. And like I said, even for Randy Orton, I feel like, you put him in a match with someone with a little faster of a pace. Even with his back injury, I feel Orton can probably do something, but it's not the same Orton. You add in all the other bullshit, and like I said, you get a terrible match like this. But overall, this Berlin show, it was average. You know what I mean? When you got a 5-match card, right, and 2 matches were just outright bad, and then you get 2 matches that were pretty good, like the mixed tag match and the WWE Championship match, and then you get 1 excellent match. you average it out to below average, right? This pay-per-view is not something that I would say you should go out of your way to miss. I think you should go watch the Punk and McIntyre match, but everything else for the most part, and again, it's not to say that the championship match with Cody and Kevin was bad. It's not to say that the mixed tag match was bad. It's just those two matches are something that you can catch on an episode of Raw. The only pay-per-view quality match that I would probably say, and even then, I think most people will probably complain about the crowd reaction, was CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. This was, I guess by default, overall, not a good show. This was not a good show at all, man. I don't know. It just didn't hit that mark for me, man. But you guys can talk about it amongst each other. I think there should be a huge debate in regards to the main event. I think maybe people who like the methodical stuff will probably like this match, but even then, it's like, who are these people? Maybe if you're like 60 years old and you came up during the Bruno Sammartino era, I guess you probably will like this. I don't know, man. And I'm a kind of guy where I don't really mind methodical matches all too much. You know what I mean? You get me, but there's a difference between like a technician scientific match. Like, say for an example, you get Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko in there having a scientific match, say like a Hog Wild or like Malenko versus Guerrero in the 2 out of 3 falls match. I think that has a certain taste where like you're going to get people who are going to shit on it, or you're going to get people who really liked it. I really don't know how the fuck you can like this main event. I really don't know. And honestly, it brought the show significantly down. The show before this match was somewhat average, maybe going towards below average, but average enough thanks to the strap match. But with this match, it definitely dragged down the average dramatically. Hopefully Gunther gets a better opponent going forward, and they don't run this match back ever again. This was very, 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 very disappointing, which I was afraid this was going to be the case. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. How did you feel about the show today? Did you like it? What's your favorite match of the night? What's your least favorite match of the night? Is there any things that you feel that I said that was out of pocket? I don't think there was, but there's always that one person. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And as always, my name is Devontae, and I'll be catching you guys later. A deuces and a P eyes.